Hey everybody, this is Kim. Welcome to this week's episode of Music in the Minor League. This week we're joined by our friend Jared Putnam of the March Divide. We've known Jared for many years, shared bills, even provided some harmony vocals in the past. So this should be a fun episode. Before we start, we got a few housekeeping items and updates on the band. First of all, if you like what you hear, please subscribe to the podcast. Tell a friend about it. That's the best way that helps us grow our audience and gives the artists the exposure that they deserve. Second, if you like the bands we're talking to or talking about, go follow them on your streaming network of choice and tell others about the music. That really helps with finding new venues to play and reaching new audiences. Finally, we got some shows coming up. This Friday, we'll be doing a show with the March Divide at Shoeshine Charlie's Big Top Lounge. Two Fifths will also be on the bill. Doors are at 8 on that one. We'd love to see you if you don't have anything to do. This Saturday, we'll be headlining the Baytown Summer Music Fest that we're putting on in conjunction with the Baytown Ace District. It's going to be a great event. It's free and it kicks off at 5 p.m. There's going to be vendors, food, drinks, music from us, Grifters and Shills, Daniel Lynn, Tony James, Mike on Mike, and Nolan Shanks. To close out the month, we'll be doing another So Far Sounds show. We don't know the location yet, outside of it being in Edo. Tickets are available at sofarsounds.com. Use code SOFARMUSIC15 to save 15% on tickets. Now we're going to kick it off with the March Divide song, Drug That I Can't Quit. See y'all on the other side.
I need a way out, but I'm kind of obligated to stay now. It's a sticky situation, but somehow I'm gonna make the best of it again. Since you came around, I guess I've been distracted by how loud the voice inside my head has put the warning out that I've gotta get away from you again. You're the drug that I can't quit. You're the song that's stuck in my head. You're the reason that I live. So you wanna talk now, but we've had this conversation and it's played out. The way you take advantage, it's a letdown. So here we are again. I need a way out, but I feel obligated to stay now. It's a crazy situation and somehow I've gotta get away from you again. You're the drug that I can't quit. You're the song that's stuck in my head. You're the reason that I live. You're the poison in my well. You're the secret that I'll never tell. I do this to myself. All I ever wanted was to make it right with you. Can't you tell by all the hoops that I jump through? You're the best mistake that I ever made, but we're through. Drug that I can't quit. You're the song that's stuck in my head. You're the reason that I live. You're the poison in my well. You're the secret that I'll never tell. I do this to myself.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Music in the Minor League. We are here tonight with our good friend, Mr. Jared Putnam, also known as the March Divide. Before we got on, I was talking about that I think I've known Jared at least a decade now.
Yeah, I think that's true.
It's been a while. The kind of dude Jared is, he's the kind of guy that will pay you 2 months ahead of time for a 12-string guitar right after your divorce so that you can pay bills. So that's the kind of dude Mr. Jared Putnam is.
That's true.
He's been here. I've had him longer than I've had my wife at this point in my life. So that's a landmark.
Yeah, we're going steady, man. We are going steady.
We've been buddies for a long time. Thanks for coming, man. Thanks for taking time. I guess thanks for coming. You're sitting in the Fort Worth area right now, but
I am. But I'm excited to drive your way in a couple weeks. So.
Yeah, man, for those of you listening, he will be playing here with us on June 23rd at Shoeshine Charlie's Big Top Lounge.
Hell yeah.
Which is cool, man. It's a really cool spot. You're going to dig it. It's like what Health described as like a fever dream.
Yeah, it really is, man.
It's an interesting room, but it's cool.
It's an experience.
Our mutual friend Dave Ing has been telling me all about it in Dave Ing ways. So
we saw Dave there for the Junebird show.
Really, you know Dave. I feel like I know nothing about it, but I've been very entertained hearing all about it.
It's a trippy spot, man. You'll love it. It's gonna be those rooms where you're like, dude, this is wild. But it's cool. It's right next to the Continental. It's like the Continental Club owns both places, so it's kind of like the minor league place for. And then once you get up to like 50 people showing up, then you get graduated to the big room.
Nice.
Well, it's cool, man. It's a good spot. So, I guess like I say, we'll kick it off with a thing. You've been doing this for a while. You've been doing this your whole life. So tell us about what got you into music.
Well, let's start from the beginning, Sam. So when I was a little kid, like 5 or 6 years old, lived in El Paso, grew up in El Paso. Anyway, I had a cousin that was like 5 years older than me that was like into music, and I'm old. So he was listening to like Iron Maiden and Motley Crue and Twisted Sister and stuff. And like, I was just hooked, like 5 or 6 years old from the covers of those albums mostly, and then it's almost like the covers of the albums came first and then digging into the music came second. But honest to God, that was really it. Like 1980, whatever that was, glam rock stuff, and then Iron Maiden, which is heavy glam rock, I suppose.
I think the same deal. I'd probably spend hours looking at the cover of my brother's Somewhere in Time album more than I ever put it on.
Oh, yeah.
What was the Iron Maiden one where Eddie's in the straitjacket all chained up? Like that was that's one of my
Peace of Mind.
Yeah, that's like one of my earliest music memories. And the Motley Crue Shout at the Devil, I thought Nikki Sixx just looked fucking cool with his football paint on his
right.
And then Stay Hungry. Don't laugh at me, man.
I forgot about that.
And Ozzy, Bark at the Moon, all that. Diary of a Madman. Honest to God, that's like really like I was hooked at like 6 years old. It's like obviously I'm doing something very different now than what hooked me. But yeah, man, that was it. That's what got me into it.
Well, that's gotta be the funny thing talking to people is like everybody when they start out, it's like I was really into insert genre and it's like nothing compared to what they're doing now. It just kind of depends on what comes out. All this stuff gets poured in, but it's all like
not gonna lie, I still dig that stuff. I've got Sirius Satellite. I throw it on Hair Nation every now and then, cross my fingers, and I'm gonna hear some of that. And those bands were a little much, I guess. They're not for whatever reason. There's no Twisted Sister on Hair Nation. I don't get that. I feel like there should be, but
that's odd.
I guess they're a little too rockin'.
That seems like a total disservice and a lying title for the station.
Right.
Right. And do you ever listen to Hair Nation? It's all Poison, Warrant, Kiss. That's about all they do. And enough's enough. There's some good glam rock on there, but don't get me wrong. But yeah. Anyway, I digress.
So I think you fell in love with music around the time that they had the most amazing album covers ever. You could just get lost in those album covers while you listened. I loved it.
Well, that's one of the shames of music today is the marketing like the packaging. It's just so lost now. You buy the album, you open it up, and especially like growing up when there were tapes. This is gonna sound a little weird, but remember the smell of a new tape? I'd always
oh yeah,
of course.
That sounds weird, like I'm opening an underwear drawer or something. But like you just take a whiff of that new tape, and that's something that's cool.
And then especially with tapes, man, you just unravel the inside, like the liner notes. Sometimes it's more in a CD. You just kept
unless
going.
You got
the bigger the budget the band had, the more you could unravel the lyric thing.
Unless you got gypped and that band was cheap and you didn't get a fold out at all. It was just what inserted into the cassette.
True, that did happen.
That's a bummer.
That's if they had no budget.
I'd
like to go back and say how you guys, there was an awkward silence when I was talking about taking a whiff of the tape. But anyway, we're moving on.
We're not here to kink shame you, sir.
Yeah.
This is a safe space.
No, that's really a thing though. Like usually one of your first things you pick up is the smell of something that's the first thing that links to your brain when you're like, dude, this smells. It's like an old restaurant, an old store. Like I told Kim, it's like you walk into Francisco's here, like the big, I guess it's been like a practice space for bands for like 40 years.
Yeah.
And it still smells like cheap weed and sweat and broken dreams and
sour beer.
Yeah. And it's like, as soon as you walk up, you're like, that's the same smell it's had since I first stepped foot here when I was 20 years old. Like, yeah, it stinks.
And the elevator still doesn't work. No, but I think that's kind of, that's kind of the shame of the change in the music industry right there is like the way you learned about a band was their album art. Like you didn't know anything about a band. You'd walk into a record store and something would grab your eye, right? And that's what we went to. And kids these days don't really get that because it's just a little, pixelated image on a screen at this point where we had the whole...
Totally. Well, so like when I was in high school, I was like all into metal and death metal and shit. And you go into FYE or in El Paso, there's this music store called All That Music, and they would have like the metal section, and you band, like, sure, you read the magazines or whatever, but like looking for the underground cool shit, like, yeah, I would buy stuff based off the cover, and
Absolutely.
I mean, to a degree, I guess it's cool that you can actually check out what you're buying before you buy it, because I did find some crap doing that. But, regardless, the experience of that, like, I just feel like people are missing out on, really missing out on that. And that was something,
Well, yeah, because like, you'd like spend an hour at a record store looking around and you'd find something like, I'm going to take this home. And you'd find like this hidden treasure. And you're like, I found this. And you're like, you go to your best friend and you're like, dude, listen to this. And your best friend will be like, this sounds like crap. You're like, well, I hate you. It's fine. I like it. Like now everything's already rated for you. It's like, oh, this has got 5 stars. If you like this, you're going to like this. We didn't have that. You really had to do the work, Even,
and talking about what we do now and the 5 stars and stuff, these kids today, damn it, the freaking Spotify algorithm tells them what they like, Right. I mean, that's where they find their new music, and it's just a tough game,
So I don't like the algorithm. It's always wrong for me. It's like, you'll love this song. It's like, I do not like this band. Please stop. So I'll give
it to them. They're pretty good with me, but what I don't like about it is they just feed me the same bands over and it's like, I would like to expand a little bit to a degree, but it's like, just kind of the same. My daily mix, it's the same mix as it was yesterday. It'll be the same mix tomorrow,
right.
Basically.
So normally, like, due to the firewall at my job, like, I can leave Spotify running there perpetually, and then I can still use it everywhere else, but it still tracks. So last year, for my, you do the top 10 at the end of the year, my number one song was this band, Mara. And, Mara is this one band that keeps coming on. It's like, I do not like this band, but it just kept feeding it to me so much that it was like, so every time I'd leave work and it wouldn't get skipped, it just kept playing it over and over. Like, you want to hear this. Like, I don't.
You can go in and deny their access. You can I never want to hear. There's like a thing. I don't want to hear this band or something. There's
I need to find that because I'm just like, please stop making me try to listen to Mara. I do not like.
Yeah, there was a band that was mean to me, so I did that to them. That I never want to because I would hear them a lot. So I went in and I was like, I don't want to hear you anymore, and I don't. So they don't get.
I know how to use Spotify. Ha ha ha.
They haven't gotten a fraction of a penny from me in like 5 years. So
right.
I'm getting them in the pocketbook right now.
Yeah, I'm sure they're devastated. They're like, yeah. Having trouble making those, child support payments or whatever it is they struggle with. So.
Well, so we know what got you into music. What actually got you playing an instrument?
Honestly, I mean, it really goes back to it. I mean, it sounds kind of hokey, but I mean, I swear to God that when I was like 5-6 years old, my cousin and those records, like that's what I wanted to do. But I just didn't have, plus when you're 5 or 6 years old, you don't have the ability to play an instrument. All those stories you hear about people, they've been playing playing guitar since they were 5 and writing something like that's bullshit. I don't think. I've got kids. They're not stupid kids. And they're not geniuses, but they're average intelligence. And there's no way that my 5-year-old daughter could play guitar. or
No,
even
I think
my,
it's a dexterity thing.
So,
They're still learning their coordination.
well, maybe actually I should probably backtrack on that. But regardless,
Maybe this is a me thing.
at 5 or 6 years old, being that into it, I just didn't have the, wherewithal or whatever. But my mom married a lot of people, and she was married to one person, this guy, Wayne, who played guitar and stuff when I was 10, 11, whatever. And he actually taught me how to play, gave me kind of the 3-chord rundown. And at this point, when I was 10, 11, we're talking 87, 88, Guns N' Roses, that was the thing.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I really want to learn guitar because of Slash, like that Sweet
Who
Child of Mine
didn't?
video. He's like leaning back. Holy crap. How cool was that? I always wanted to be like, when I was a kid, like a lead guitarist, that was that was my jam. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I did for a long time through high school. And even the first couple of years of college, I was just a guitar player in a band, but I could never I was always like the songwriter, and I was never really happy with singers that we had, so that's kind of what kicked me into singing and whatnot. Is I just wasn't
DIY.
I play guitar okay, but I'm kind of a shitty singer. It's I just was never happy with the singers that I could find, so
Jared's just like, forget it, I'll do it myself.
I can be unhappy with me.
It was
I don't need you.
very similar to that, actually. Yeah, I mean that was just kind of the progression. And to be honest, that's kind of what got me out of, like, I was always really into metal, when I was younger, and I wanted to play like lead guitar in a metal band, like I was into Pantera, COC, Corrosion and Conformity. Oh my God. Like that was like my band, But when I started singing, it's like I can't, I can barely sing at all, much less yell and do cool metal stuff. And, plus I'm a sappy, emotional, whiny kind of guy. So once I started singing, it was all downhill from there. That's where we are now, with me and just an acoustic guitar and a bunch of people that don't want to play with me, so
Riding the depression train all the way
I
down.
think I just summed it all up. That's that's the back of the book right there.
It's not really how I see your life.
Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, Kim.
Well, so that kind of brings me to the fact that, I know the March Divide is presented as a band, but it's still Jared and a guitar. And then Conversation was pretty much the same way too, wasn't it? Like you did band stuff, but you also did a lot of solo.
No, the Conversation was a band. We started initially, so I was in these metal bands through high school, and then I started this band called Level in college. And that was the first band that I started singing for. And we started as 3-piece, but there was a lot of progression of that. But that was like, and I used to have like this dude that played bass with me and everything I did named John Michaels. And he was like a freaking savant, crazy good. And he and I progressed, and we built that band, and we ended up being a 4-piece, and we got signed to like a local deal. It was like a local deal that had money. It was this El Paso label, but they had a budget, and got us a van and recorded a real album with Mike Major, who was doing all the After Drive-In stuff at the time that After Drive-In was blowing up or whatever.
Wow.
And we went out and we toured our butts off. And can I say ass? I've been
Yes.
Yeah, say whatever
good.
you want.
toured our asses off. We toured Canada and the US, and we sold a lot of records, and we got some attention. And John actually ended up leaving the band, but Mike, the old drummer, from Level and all that. Anyway, John left the band and kind of made it different, but we put it back together. I'll skip. There was some drama there, but it doesn't matter because it was like 20 something years ago. But this is like 99 that we signed that deal. Okay. That album came out in 2000, and we did really well. And when we came back, we went on we just toured our asses off. And John kind of lost his mind a little bit, left the band, and we came back. We were kind of broken from this tour that we did in Canada. And so it was just me and Mike, and our guitarists. Like, we had like revolving guitars at this point too, just because we were touring so much. And it was at the point we had a $5 a day per diem each, and we're living in this van. Like it was a tough life. Like we were eating nothing, and we're just those tour stories, sleeping on floor, like it was just rough. So we kept losing guitarists, and then when John quit, it really screwed us up. We came back from this one tour, and we were basically broken up. And major labels started calling us like for showcases. Like we had interest from major labels, and we weren't even a band, So Mike and I, the drummer, were like I had gotten a job, because we were living off the label. I mean, I say we were living off it. I mean, we were young and hungry, but we just stayed on the road, whatever. But so we came back from the we got jobs. Like we were just gonna kind of regroup, or maybe Mike was like, I don't even know that I want to do this anymore, And after all that, and I was like, and we had like major label interest, and so we ended up like going to some lunches and some stuff, in LA and anyway. So Mike's like, okay, it was worth it, whatever. So he and I like kind of put the band back together and we kept the name Level, but we signed like a deal, and we went out to LA and we did the whole LA, like we didn't tour, but we were kept by like label money kind of. I'll, kind of skip the details of that, but we were in a deal where we were taken care of as long as we were working on our shit and recording or whatever. And we essentially got picked up by Capitol. We got Dave. Anyway, so we changed the name of the band. I'm getting to the fucking point here is that we changed the name to The Conversation because it wasn't the same band anymore, but we got the deal, Okay. But then all that ended up falling apart through some dumb shit that I don't want to get into. And so we were just kind of set free and we signed a decent indie deal. It was like a $20,000, $30,000 indie deal with Dead Letter Records up in Minneapolis, St. Paul, which sounds great, right? Like I thought it was cool, but just the fact that we had like a Capitol deal that was like hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then to go to that deal of, it just was like a real kind of mind fuck for the rest of the band. And we were still touring. We were doing it. We were doing okay. The album came out and it was actually doing really well, but it was just not the expectations that everybody had were just kind of shot. It was just a real mind fuck, I guess, was the best way to put it, and so the band just kind of fell apart. So we had signed a 2-album deal with Dead Letter. And when the band fell apart, which was like right after they put out this album that they had spent $15,000 on, and then had another like contractually obligated to spend another $15,000 or something. And the band broke up, of course. So I called the label. I wasn't ready because we were doing well. I saw the potential in it. Anyway, I called the label and was like, "Hey guys, I know the band broke up. You probably hate me right now, but if I just keep this name, can I keep this deal?" And they were like, "Yes, sold." Because for them,
go promote this, please.
Yeah, that was like the best for them. It was like that was the best option. It was like either that or we're gonna have to throw away all these CDs, And
it's a lot of coasters.
Well, and they had an option to drop me at any time. So if I went out there and ruined it, they could have just been all right. Thank you.
Man, that
Thanks
sounds really stressful.
But no, thank you. But it did. It ended up going pretty well. So they kept me on for the next album. Paid for all that or whatever, and it continued. And I lived off that. But I was drinking too much and being a fucking loser, really, to be honest.
But it sounds like you guys went through a lot of stress to get to that point. Like, sounded like a lot. I can't imagine being courted by multiple major labels. That has to be that's a lot of thinking you have to do.
Well, and it was, for us, we were good at the song. We were good at what we were doing, but we weren't, at the time it was very flashy. This is the early 2000s. We weren't that though, I mean, we could have been, honest to God. I think we honestly would have done really well had the album actually come out, but not, and I say really well, we would have at least been a one-hit wonder, minimum.
Yeah.
But, it just didn't come to fruition, but it was tough because there was a lot of pressure in areas of things that we didn't even think about or care about, hair,
right?
Like
fashion.
Like, what are you doing with your hair, dude? It's
You're
like
too fat, lose some weight.
And what are you doing with your hair? Like, how do you even? I don't know, man. And I mean, there was stuff about like outfit. I mean, and I get. It's funny now because all these years later, I do kind of get it. Like, it wasn't like I had to go to Abercrombie or anything. It was just like I don't know, maybe fucking wash your clothes and take a shower. But I was living in the band. Like back then, it was like we were playing like sappy emo crybaby shit, but like we were like gutter punks. We were living in a van, we were just, right. You know what I mean? And so like for these dudes to come at us with, dude, you need like a comb, heard of it? It's like, it was just like over our heads.
Do you own anything besides black?
Nope.
Yeah. I mean, kind of lost my anyway. So train of thought, but after all that, like going out on my own, and then for me, of course, the band broke up over the hardship. I mean, in my mind, it was over the hardship of losing that deal. It was just I can't ever comprehend. Like I can't communicate the mindfuck that was to us, and obviously it fucked me up too. And so that's like, so I just went out and I had this deal, and I was doing good. I was selling, like, the albums were moving. I think I'd have to confirm this with the label, but I still think that first Conversation record to this date is still the best selling album that Dead Letter Records ever had, and wow. So, I mean, we did good, but I just kind of, I don't know. I just kind of wrecked my life at that point. I just really drank a lot and eventually quit because.
How long did it take you to kind of come back around to, I can write some songs myself and maybe do this alone? Years?
Yeah, I got it. So the other thing too, like there's other stuff like, geez, guys, I feel like this is more of a...
we all have lives. It's okay.
My psychologist.
Just tell us more about it.
I'm your therapist. Hi.
Are you guys going to write me a script when we're fucking done?
We can make that happen. That's fine.
No.
Pretty sad. I moved to LA. So I'm from El Paso and, the band, and that's where everything happened. And I was with this girl and we lived in Las Cruces, which is basically El Paso, but in New Mexico. So we were living together and we got engaged, and she got a modeling contract, so we moved to LA for that, not for my music stuff. But it was like cool, like in my mind, because this was after we had already been dropped from everybody and I had dead letter stuff and things were going well. But in my mind, it was like it would be good for me to get back out there and I could maintain these relationships, because I actually still had a good relationship with all the A&Rs and whatever that we were working with. And I thought maybe I'll finish off this dead letter deal and maybe kind of revive everything when I get my life together. Anyway, so I moved to LA with this. In addition to the mind fuck of all this other shit that had just happened to me. By the way, this is advice for anybody that listens to it. I don't know that anybody's going to listen to this, but if they do, it won't be because of me. I'm sure you guys have a huge following, but I do not. But whoever's listening to this, if you've just had a mind fuck and a crash career, do not move to LA. That is the last place you want to go to get a new start, that is where pretentious people go to die, and so anyway, so I moved to LA with my, girlfriend that's hotter than me or whatever. And anyway, it was just, it was lonely and tough, I couldn't afford, I was living off touring. I was doing good touring with Dead Letter. I was making like actual money, more money than I'd ever made in my life, to be honest. But God damn, it doesn't matter how much money you make when you live in LA, it's not enough, and right. So we're living together in this like shitty studio apartment in Little Armenia in LA, and I'm having to tour like 9 months out of the year just to pay the rent, barely, I don't know if you guys have ever done that, but that's not great for a relationship when you're in your early 20s.
Can't be good.
Right, I'm gonna be gone most of the year.
So I'm coming home and there's like other dudes' boxer shorts on the ground, and like, that's okay because I cheated on you when I was on the road. So like it was just a horrible experience, too. So yeah, I quit. I mean, I just kind of quit everything and walked away and moved to Austin, which by the way is just like LA. So
can confirm.
Yeah. Like I moved, I was like, I want to move back to Texas, but I don't want to go home because there's bad memory. I just went through this phase of my life where there was like nothing but bad mojo. I just wanted to like do something new. And so I moved to Austin. One of my best friends lived there, and I was crashing on his couch or whatever and getting on my feet. And yeah, I got away. Like I wanted to get away from how expensive LA was. Mostly I want to get away from my girlfriend, but how expensive LA was and how bad the traffic was. So I moved to Austin, where it's just as expensive and the traffic is worse.
Right, yeah.
Like, out of the pot.
What have I done? What have I done? And so anyway, but regardless, that was it was all right. It was a good move. Anyway.
So there's lots of musicians in Austin. Did you meet anybody you collaborated with, or?
Sort of, yeah. So what I did there is I went there to quit music and do something different. And I did. I got a job and kind of got my life together, met my wife, and, much better situation. And we moved to San Antonio a year or so later. But at some point, you just kind of can't walk away from it, So I started writing songs again and I was writing songs, but my wife's best friend, this girl, Laura, was singing mostly. Like that was the plan, and that's kind of how things got started with the whole March Divide thing.
Okay. So how long ago was that?
Jesus. I don't know.
15, 20 years ago? Or
20. Wow. We probably started dicking around 2010, 2011.
Okay.
Okay.
So I quit the conversation in 04, 05, I guess. Mm-hmm. And so, there were 6 years, like there was probably 3 or 4 years that I didn't even touch a guitar because I was just so burnt from it. So,
well, you've been recording.
It's just the progression of it. It's like, I knew that if I ever touched a guitar again, I would ruin my life. And sure enough,
here we are.
Like you're doing all right.
Here we are. Yeah. these years later.
Yeah, 'cause I think we met 2013 probably. You already had the 2 records out, songs for
Yeah,
film.
so when I picked up and I decided that I was going to do it, I kind of did the 2 at once because I had some old songs and some new songs. I was just kind of getting my mojo back, so I just recorded everything, and I did a little backwards. I wish that I spent a little more time developing what I was going to do, but for me, the joy of it all is the songwriting, and so just the fact that I was writing the song, I just want to write songs and have people listen to them. So I just immediately went to recording, whereas I probably should have gone the route of touring and stuff,
Working them out.
The smart professional move would have been to just do the conversation thing and go out on the road and like keep that name and revive that following with the old albums and then go record once I got my writing mojo back. But that's not how I roll. I always start everything with a terrible decision, so I changed the name and recorded a bunch of bad songs because I hadn't done it in a long time, and then just went full force, Well,
I think that's kind of it, because like you're saying, everything you're doing is we're just going to leave all this bad stuff behind, have a clean start. And at some point, there's good and bad in that, but I feel like it worked out.
Well, holy shit, Sam. If nothing else,
there are millions
if I can do this with that makes me feel great.
Well, I mean, but it's tough to go like, hey, but I mean, shit, man, the time I've known you, it's been everywhere.
And you write and record a ton of stuff. I would say you're prolific.
That's my jam. I don't know that yet. I write and record a ton of stuff. Not all of it's good. I should probably. I always jump head first into that. But that's like that's my jam. That's what I get out of it. That's honest to God. If I could find a way, I make a living playing live. Mm-hmm. But if I could find a way to where I could just sit in this messy room right now and just record all the time, like that's what I would like to do. And not that I don't love playing live. It's not that I would stop playing live, but the playing live feels like a means to the end to get to do what I want to do, Mm-hmm. And you would think that I could go get a real job and do, but like that doesn't. I don't know. That just doesn't fill the void,
True.
So yeah, that's my ambition is to just write and record,
Yeah, but I mean, I totally understand that, man. It's like, I think most everybody, the reason they keep at it, because, it's like, I'm not going to stop. There's stuff in there that needs to come out. We're going to keep going.
Well, and I feel like if you were to just be in the studio all the time recording, people would miss out on the awesomeness that is the March Divide's like, I'm going to sell you everything during this show, and you're going to buy it. You're going to buy it on credit. I don't give a shit. You're going to buy it. And they do. They do. Like the man could sell, ketchup popsicles to a woman in white gloves. The guy has a gift. Like, I don't give a shit who you are. Like,
hey man, I gotta finance this empire,
Dude, you got it cornered on that market, buddy.
I appreciate that very much.
Especially at the rate of release. I mean, it's like every year. It's like, we're doing like a full vinyl run. We're doing this. I mean, there's no...
Yeah, well, so I'm currently in a commitment to move what I got before I do another one. So
is that the wife? She's like, look, we got to get some stuff.
No, well, actually, it's not. Like I've got like a shitload of records out, and I'm almost out of all of them, but I'm not out of any of them, and so I need to, as far as the vinyl goes, so CDs, I only have like 3 of them left. Wow. But yeah, I gotta move some shit. I'm gonna do another record and single. The market, like the music market, is so hard to read. I feel like singles are a good way to maintain I have a decent base of listeners, and so constantly putting out singles is a great way to keep their appetite up and keep them into what I'm doing. But the other side of that is like, I don't want to come across as like the cliche music gripe, but like, I don't make any money from that, and it's not about money, don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, we can't sell that live either. It shows.
And this is what I do for a living, and so it's like, that's kind of a frustrating thing for me as well. Like, I just don't know how to handle that. I have not figured out I honestly, I feel like we're in a weird time of music. Like, it hasn't really settled on what's next, and so it's like singles, albums, like what? I don't think the whole singles thing is sustainable necessarily, unless you're Taylor Swift and you have like, 5 million streams a day.
But it's, I think right now it's what the market is demanding. And so that's what, shut up.
I just want to point it out that I didn't bring this up. Jared brought up Taylor Swift for the record. Just saying.
She comes up every episode for some reason.
Oh, really? Well,
Yes.
she's
But I think it's
probably the most successful,
Right.
songwriter out there today.
But if you had a James Patterson kind of stable of writers, you'd be able to pump songs out at an ungodly rate too.
I just
Fair.
think the music market right now is difficult. People want singles. The music market is giving them singles. But
Well,
yeah, you're right.
yeah.
We don't make any money off that.
Well, it's weird. You used to release an album, and then you release singles
Right.
from the already released album to kind
Yeah.
of keep
Now, you
get people to
release
pay
singles.
attention. Yeah, you do 10
So,
singles,
but-
then sell a physical record when you're done with the singles.
Yeah.
By the time this podcast is released, this strategy that I'm about to say will be obsolete. But I released a single every 6 weeks during the pandemic. And then once I had 10, I made an album out of it. Sync. It was like not my last album, but the one before that.
Yeah.
And it sold like my pre-sales. I almost ran out of vinyl. Like I'm not out of vinyl, but I sold the vast majority of the vinyl from pre-sales before it came out. And it was like this build-up. But I never said it was going to be an album. I never even intended for it to be an album. I just kind of did all these songs and they did well. So I was like, I should make an album out of this, and I did. And that was like, as far as like a lead up and online sales, or whatever. Of course, it was the pandemic, so it's kind of hard to gauge how that would
Right.
go
Like,
today.
is that ever going to happen
But
again?
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like that was,
Yeah.
there were a lot of anomalies there.
No, but a lot of people do that though. They'll release a bunch of singles, then again at the end, they may not do every one, but they'll do like 6 of the 10 songs leading
Well,
up.
and what's tough too, like working in the business, I work with I do some music, like my side gig is music promotion with some like kind of more famous people or whatever. And then I have a distribution deal with this company that I work with, Burnside Distribution. They're great. Okay. So anyway, my rep there, Skip, it's like, I just don't know what anybody wants, getting to the point. But I work with this guy, my rep at my distro company a lot because I also run kind of a distribution company through them with this other like side gig, record music business side gig. And so it just feels like singles are the way to go. But when you talk to a distro company, like they want an album because that's what they distro albums, and they
Right.
like they feel the same way the bands do. We get whatever percent we get, and then like your distro company gets 10, 15, 20, whatever the fuck they get. So that's even less than what we get, and
Right.
so putting out singles for them is like not exciting. So they want you to do albums, whereas all the streaming sites want you to do singles. You know what I mean? But your bridge to the streaming site is the distro company. And so like, who do you please? You know what I mean? And
Right.
so like my last album, for example, Lost Causes, available everywhere. Please purchase that wherever you buy cool records.
Only a few vinyl left.
And also, just to throw in a quick thing, does also feature Kim
Oh yeah, and it does
on
feature
vocals
Kim,
in the
which
song. So it's tied to us
is
too.
not in the liner notes, unfortunately. But we were saying that again, that she
Uncredited.
is singing on the last song.
You'll know.
Beautiful harmonies. Listen to her more than me. That's why she's louder than me. And so like with these, so anyway, my distro company got very behind that record, so I made a whole record, and that's not even why I made it, but I made a whole record for them, and they got very behind it, and it got placed on the playlists of like mostly Apple really picked up on it, and it was on like a lot of Apple Music playlists, and it did really well, and great, cool. So then when I went back, I asked them, I was like, well, what if I do singles, like, because that seems what the market more wants. And my rep at the distro company was like, yeah, but when you do it, load up several at a time, basically meaning upload 4 or 5 singles and have the release dates already in there. And then what you do, you go through, for people that don't know, listen to this, there's a pitching process where you go through your distro company and you pitch the songs to the playlist curators, essentially at Spotify, Apple, Deezer, whatever. And the pitching that is like this fucking nightmare that nobody can understand. Like what you have to give them, you have to explain your budget, what your marketing plan is, all this fucking bullshit. So he initially told me like, yeah, load up a bunch of you just had a good run, load up a bunch of singles and get your pitches together and all that, and we should be good. So then I did all that for them because I couldn't release like 2 albums right in a row because I can't afford to press that much vinyl, and then he came back, he's like, they're really looking for another album. It's like, oh my God, like it's just the way that it changes every goddamn day is just so fucking frustrating,
just
and
do all this work.
let's all be honest, you guys are a band, I'm a band. Playlists don't really do anything for your following or but what they do is generate income, and it's so the only reason I want to land these fucking playlists is to pay my mortgage. I don't think it's gonna make me anybody's favorite fucking band, so maybe I could be home on a weekend, but anyway, here we are, just.
Well, I know you already know this, but you're so close. You're in my top 5. Love the March Divide.
Well, thanks. And I'm sorry I'm rambling so goddamn much.
No, this is actually really cool. This is stuff I figured it'd be good to talk to you about because you really do have your finger on the pulse when it comes to the business side of things.
I do feel like I'm treating this more like a closed door meeting with my psychologist than I am like a.
No, but this is the idea.
Oh, sorry, guys. I don't know if anybody listening to this is gonna be like, "Oh my god, shut up, dude."
This just feels like the conversations that happen in our house when you're here. So,
and it just feels like a lot of the conversations we have here because everybody's like, "How the hell do we handle this? We're working on this record. Should we release this?
Right?
Should we release this? Should we do this?"
Yeah, you're not alone. Everybody we talk to is like this.
Yeah, you know what? I don't, and it's not because of my own stuff, but I do work with some bigger artists on my side music business gig, which I kind of fell into during the pandemic, working in music promotion with some bigger names. Nobody knows. And we're talking I work with a dude that's in one of the biggest bands in the world. And he has, not him, his team, nobody knows what's next, how to do it, what the right way to do anything is. We're just really an awkward time,
Well, I think
nobody knows.
The crazy thing is right now, if a young group was starting out, what I would tell them to do is create a 1-minute loopable song that you can use on TikTok. You do that, and there you go. There's your in. That seems to be, and then it's so now do we need to make 1-minute songs? Is that I thought 3 minutes and 30 seconds was the max.
Well, you know what? At the end of the day, you are right about that. Attention spans are out the window because of the way we're served up shit. But that's a different conversation. At the end of the day, what I would say, and this is an epiphany that I had, I just got back from a tour a week ago, 2 weeks ago, maybe. Because I work with all this music promotion and, I do have my finger on the pulse on how to kind of blow shit. When I say blow shit up, get people to listen to your stuff. But there's no money in that. So I had this epiphany that, holy fuck, I'm playing these shows and I'm making a bunch of money. And then I'm just spending it all on something that doesn't give me any fucking return.
Right.
There's
I got no ROI.
A bunch of people listen to me, but there's nothing in, there's absolutely nothing in that. And I'm going to come home and my daughter's going to be like, "Where's Barbie you were going to bring me?" And sorry, babe, I was trying to get people to listen to me on Spotify. It's so I'm so it was just this epiphany that, what you need to tell the young band is fuck all that, man. Just go back to the basics is honestly the best way to do it. Go play some shows, make something. I don't know right now, vinyl, people like vinyl, but not everybody likes vinyl. I don't know, make a tape, whatever the fuck. Honestly, tape, CD, and vinyl, somebody's going to want one of those. Right. But t-shirt, honestly, that's what people fucking want. You go write the best song you can, and then you make a t-shirt so they can go home and wear that,
Hell yeah.
But anyway, my point being, just go out and honestly, God, you go back to the basics and you just play fucking shows and you have some shit on your table and you do your best to kill it, and what is success anymore? Is success 100? How many your Spotify numbers? Because I don't think that's success. For me, it's different when you're younger. It's different than it is when you're older. But for me, it's paying my bills and my kids not being ashamed of what I do for a living. And so playing fucking shows and moving some merch, that is the most feasible route to success, in my opinion,
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed, I think one of the things we were talking about too, especially post-pandemic, was especially in our echelon of venues, a lot of those disappeared and went out of business. So it makes it a little harder to do really huge runs all over the country. So I see, even in your orbit, it's kind of shrunk down a little bit. Everyone's kind of getting more regional with it, which isn't a bad thing because then you keep seeing the places more often and you start realizing the more you hit a place 4 times a year instead of once, you suddenly start seeing people more and more because you're oh yeah, not enough to get sick of, but enough to where it's dude, every 4 months I can go see this and it'll be good.
Absolutely. What this run that I recently did, and I honestly got, I almost had an a religious epiphany. It was like the sun hit me in the right way, whatever. And but yeah, there's in the background, the whole deal. Yeah, Kim, it was you. It was your voice. And so yeah, like focus on what's working and expand from there. Don't when I did have a job, I had a sales job, and they had all these stupid sayings, but man, they really relate to this life a lot. And one of them was, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, and so focus on what works, and then, you build from there, And so I have an agent that I've been working with for the last couple of years. She's based in the Southwest, and she books the Southwest, and that's all she does. But you know what? That is going great, and so I'm focusing on that, and then I'm going to build from there, But yeah, like I said, I had a religious experience just a couple of weeks ago, and now I'm drunk on your podcast and talking too much and sharing it with.
Well, I think it's interesting because I remember the last conversation we had about Spotify. You had taken some marketing classes on Spotify, and you were really working it.
Yeah, well, I was, and I still do, and that was actually going well. Where my epiphany came from is I was working that really hard. I have a couple friends that they kind of got in it early in that front, and they were running ads, and they now have 500,000 to 1 million monthly listeners, and they make disgusting amounts of money doing that. But what happened to that, and that's great, one of them, full disclosure, was already famous. And it was a side project that he did. And when I say, dude has a gold record, and then he dug into this thing with this old band, whatever, but he's got a name. And he dug into this with a side project, and now he doesn't have to leave his house. He wears fucking running shorts all the time. And, good for him. But that's what I was kind of chasing. But where I screwed up is that I did not have the faith in the system per se, and so I was kind of okay, well, I'm going to experiment with it, and then the fucking major labels figured it out. And so now that I really know what I'm doing and I'm good at it, you're competing with Warner Brothers, and so the ad space, and the ads are based on the market share and who's spending the most money and all that kind of thing. And so it's just gotten to a point where, sure, it works. It absolutely works. It's very competitive, but it works. But the competition is a lot more than it used to be. So it used to be a lot cheaper to do that. It just goes back to what I was saying. I was doing very well doing that. And I continue to do that. But realistically, financially, for me, it just goes back to what's working and what's not. Right. When my mortgage shows up every month, and I make good money playing shows, the return on the ads is, breaking even. So yeah, how do you balance that? I mean, I could dive in head first with that, but it's just, like I said, it was just this epiphany that I had before. And, talking about those days, with the Conversation and my old bands and Level, when I had these record deals and I was out there 20 years ago, not that old, guys. Stop it. You could go out that band Level. We had that first, we sold 4,000 CDs or something. And it was we were charting doing that. Mm-hmm. Now these days, you got to have 1 million monthly listeners on Spotify, 1 million people, 1 million think about that. That's crazy. 1 million individuals have to be listening to you to make the same income that we were making selling 4,000 CDs. Wow. You know what it's like with the show money and the shirts and the record, right, yeah. It wasn't CD sales. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I mean, holy fuck. Yeah. It's just kind of, you just kind of got to, I guess it depends on what your goals are. If you have some job where you work at home and it doesn't matter, and you make a bunch of money and you can spend all that money, and your goal is to get as many people as possible to listen to you, cool. But, when it comes to, isn't the goal to make a living? Maybe it's not for everybody, but that's...
Oh, no, I think we'd all love to do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, Yeah. So I would rather, when you just take a step back and kind of reassess what matters and what doesn't matter, Yeah. So do you guys remember, Sam, I know back in the day you doing it, and you used to have labels and you used to work in the media, and you've done all this shit. Yeah. Do you remember back in the day that people would say you're 1,000 fans or 1,000 core fans? What was the saying? Because now that I'm drunk, I can't remember it. But basically what it came down to is the goal was, before streaming, was to get 1,000 people that would spend $100 a year on your stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're set.
They would buy your records. They would go to your shows. They would buy a shirt. You know, at the end of the day, they would spend $100 a year, you know, which is less than $10 a month. But that would equal $100,000 a year, you know, like, and everybody's let that go because of this new model. But
nobody really seems to know what the model is.
Well, exactly. Well, that's the thing is everybody's trying to figure out what the new model is, but maybe it hasn't changed, you know, like.
Well, maybe it hasn't changed at our level.
This all goes back to this epiphany that I just had because I might be just completely wrong on.
Well, no, but I think you're right in a way because it's kind of everybody chasing something that's bigger than they need to chase. You know, it's like finding your comfort and happiness and just, you know, enough, man. It's like the whole Zen thing.
Yeah, well,
enough.
I think what's really happened, and it like you can go back and you can blame social media, but I think the perception has taken over the reality, you know, of what success is or what, you know, success is different for everybody. Depends on what you're looking for because, you know, I mean, I'm sure there is somebody out there like having 100,000 listeners on Spotify. Maybe that's their model for success, but that's not gonna do, you know, it's not gonna feed your kids, you know.
Right. It's not a working song or working musician.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I really do kind of relate everything to feeding my kids. So but yeah, I mean, exactly. So, but yeah, I just think that the way that the music business is kind of rolled out, it'd be awesome for everybody to just take a step back and kind of reevaluate what success really is.
Well, yeah, because the inflated number of followers you have on Spotify or whatever, that's not going to equal actual dollars. There's no guarantee that stream will ever come to anything more than that one stream. Like, well, they may never buy anything from you, but you have a million listeners, right? That looks good on paper, but when you get to the brass tacks of it, how often are they listening to you? Are they buying anything of your merchandise? Are they investing in you? No, not really, because it costs them nothing to do it. You know, they push play and they listen to it and like, okay, cool, whatever, on to the next thing. Whereas I think, yeah, if you can get that, like you said, that 1,000 core people who are going to buy your stuff and be invested, that's where the success lies, I think, because that's more longevity.
And to be clear, if you have 1 million listeners on Spotify, you're making a living. You know, but what you have to do to get that, you know, I mean, that is an algorithm. Right. Like, what the fuck is isn't music about emotion, you know, and spilling your guts? And like, we're all out there trying to fucking spill our guts to an algorithm, you know? So what is more obtainable? Is it 1 million listeners on Spotify, or is it 1,000 people that really give a shit about what you're doing? And this goes back, like, I know people that are great that nobody's listening to, you know, and I know people that suck that a lot of people are listening to, you know. Yeah. So, you know, I guess my point is that I just think that it needs to be, people need to take a step back and just reevaluate what they care about, you know. And if that's what you care about, that's fine. That's totally fine. But what do you want your alarm going off at 6 a.m. too, you know?
Yeah. So. I think that was I was going down watching too many music documentary interview type thing. What was it? Kat was yelling from Babes in Toyland. I was talking about because apparently her and Courtney Love are friends. She's like, you know, she wanted to be famous. I wanted to be in a rock band. And it's kind of like your point. Do you want to have a bunch of people listening to your songs on the radio that you can never really reproduce live? Or are you here to play music and have that experience of just the shows?
Yeah. Yeah. And again, there are pull up your Spotify, Apple Music app right now. There are a lot of people that make amazing music out of their bedrooms and tons of people are listening to it, you know, that's not what I wanted. You know, I mean, that was never what I wanted to do. And so, and I think, you know, with us, and we're all kind of the same age and we've been doing this a long time, you know, a bunch of kids in the industry that are going to surpass us in their fame and success are probably not going to get this, but that's not what I got into this to do, you know? And, you know, I just think we've all kind of been forced into this thing that, this funnel that we don't fit through, you know, like, so maybe it's time to climb out of that shit and get back to the fucking dickhead door dude taking $5 from somebody and putting flyers on cars, you know, like,
you know. But we're hearing it more and more from bookers. They're like, we make that mistake of, this band had, you know, 150,000 followers on Spotify, and we booked them as they were coming through town, and no one showed up. Yeah, and then there's a band we booked that has 200 monthly listeners, and they brought in like 40 people because people are coming to see their shows. Yeah.
I guess, you know, I think that's, I don't know. I mean, that's the point of it all. And I, of all people, have gotten lost in that over the last few years too. You know, like I said, it's just, this was just an epiphany that I recently had, and just want to dig back into the roots, to what it's all about this Big Top show next week.
Yeah, man. What is it?
It all goes back to everybody needs to go to that show.
11 days from now, but I guess when this airs, it will be 2 days and 48 hours.
Okay, see? Yeah, 48 hours from now, you guys need to come to Big Top and
See a cool show.
Always the salesman. Love it.
Right?
It's what works, man.
It does.
Thanks for taking the time to talk to us, man.
This was fun.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I just had diarrhea of the mouth tonight.
No, dude, that's good.
We feel like that's what this is kind of turned into. Like a lot of people we've had in the last few episodes have been very much like it's become more educational. So it's kind of good.
Yeah.
Because most of the DMs I've been getting recently from listeners have been like, why don't y'all talk about this? Y'all should talk about this. Because like I'm in a new band and I want to know like a lot of the young people. So it's kind of good that we're doing this.
Pentagram String Band. I haven't heard that one. How was it with Johnny Lawhorn?
It was awesome.
Oh man, it went really good.
It was
yeah.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
A lot of good information there too. Because he's kind of like, as far as when it comes to the booking and stuff, you are kindred spirits. And I've got my spreadsheet of every venue and this one does this, and this is this, and tell you
that
every
dude
place.
is, that guy is a van hound. I mean, yeah. And man, good for him. Like their success just recently over the last probably 6 to 8 months, his band has really blown up, and that's awesome. Good for them. And it's from like, holy Christ, talk about, living in the van, like what I was talking about. I mean, that's what they do. And
oh yeah,
they do, and like indeed live in a van.
Yeah.
Well, they have a cool house too, cool band house. But it made me feel very 90s. Like there's our band house, and so we did the interview, and it's like, and then we leave this house and we get into a van together, and we go tour, and it's like, and we somehow haven't killed each other yet. It's like
yeah.
It's impressive.
They love Satan.
Boy, do they.
Right.
What do they get paid now?
Right, I love it. I just love this thing. Everything's about death, suicide, Satan. It's what we do. It's all we do.
They play they play rockabilly and love the devil.
And it works, man. They had an entire Trinidad, Colorado, the
City Council.
City Council, someone came to their meeting to complain about them playing in Trinidad, Colorado, if they were bringing the devil into the community. And I think the Chamber of Commerce promoted the show on their website. So they were just like freaking out. Like, they're doing this, they're coming, I'm a God-fearing Christian, and you're bringing Satan to town.
Satan to Trinidad.
Thank you for the publicity.
Look at that attention Johnny's getting from that. I need to get the devil into my life.
Right?
Right.
We're doing it wrong.
And thanks to the open government law that he can use that soundbite wherever he wants.
Wow. I'm sure he is too. I'm sure he is. I had no idea.
It's got to be a hidden track somewhere. It's getting late here. Thank you again, man. Look forward to seeing you next week.
I love you guys.
I love you too.
I know I'm drunk and I talked a lot. I'm sorry.
No, don't be, dude.
Fine.
It was great.
Always good to see your face. We'll have to do some
I'll
practicing.
see your face in a couple weeks.
And that's kind of the point, man. If people could drink a little bit, they seem to loosen up. It's not all like, hi, friend, how are you? We want to be real with this. We don't want to be like, everything's great. I get in my van. I drive from show to show, and it is fun.
This is fun, and I like to do it.
You guys probably knew that I get diarrhea of the mouth when I drink too much.
No.
It's okay. Who doesn't?
Oh. Yeah, I guess probably why you and Sam are friends. You just talk each other off a ledge.
Well, we do late night, but there's no camera or recording.
Right, yeah. All right, man.
But yeah, I look forward to staying up all night with you in a couple weeks.
Hell yeah, man. See you then.
Yeah, see you then.
Later, Jed.
Bye.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Thanks for listening to another episode of Music in the Minor League. We'll be back in 2 weeks with a new episode. As always, if you like what you heard, please share the podcast with a friend. That really is the best way to help the podcast get out there. If you like Jared and the March Divide, go follow him on social media. Go listen to his music on streaming sites. Come out to a show. We'll be playing with him in 2 days at Shoeshine Charlie's Big Top. So we'll see you there. Now we're going to leave you with one of our favorite songs of his off his album Billions. This song is called I Told You So, and we'll see you next time. Later.
I'll bet it all, I'll face the risk. I'll take my chances, I won't resist. I told you so, I told you so. I'm not giving up or giving in. I'm pushing forward, I'm all in, 'cause I told you so. so. And when your mind wanders off, thinking of where you and I could be, I hope it reminds you that you're weak. I've overcome the obstacles you have put right before me, like another promise you won't keep. Through all this shit you can't defend, well, I'm ever closer to the end. I told you so. I told you so. Is your regret sinking in? Are you overcome by what you did? Well, I told you so. I told you so. And when your mind wanders off, thinking of where you and I could be, I hope it reminds you that you're weak. I've overcome the obstacles you have put right before me, like another promise you won't keep. Won't keep. You're so wrong. You're so wrong.